Thanks a lot for introducing me that nicely, and thanks a lot firsthand for the invitation to come to Vilnius. Vilnius, it's a great pleasure to take the opportunity and to sneak out a little bit of the isolation stories we had over the last month. As it is again possible to move a little bit, I prefer to come here in person to speak to you, not only online, but in this wonderful auditorium. Just a few words, where do I come from? My name is Georg Stawa. I'm a trained Austrian judge in my origin, so I was administering justice a few years on courts for civil procedures in first and second instance before I switched to the Ministry of Justice in Vienna, doing classical judicial management. Made then career there, became a head of department for strategy development, innovation, and this kind of stuff. Also served a little bit as a Secretary General, but more important in parallel, I was always connected with the Council of Europe, especially with the Commission for Efficiency of Justice, which is that kind of think tank looking always for some improvements on where development is going, on raising efficiency, but also evaluating procedures and solutions very carefully within European judiciaries. Served there as a president, and almost 2 years ago I switched my career again and went into diplomatic service, being now attached at the Austrian embassy in Belgrade, serving as a judicial attaché for rule of law for the Western Balkans region, a region which is very actively in developing judiciary in modern ways. A lot of reform projects going on, and therefore, let's say, a very, very active biotope of everything which should be tackled on, and what is happening if someone is thinking of developing judiciary in the years 2020 and upcoming. Thanks for placing the topic on the agenda, because the topic of selecting judges and defining the standards and critically reflecting what's going on is not only happening in Lithuania, but as you know, in quite some amount of countries, not only speaking about Ukraine and Albania, also Cyprus did exercises like this. So it is a hot topic. And it is not only a hot topic because sometimes you have to reforms, but it is a hot topic which is very much questioning our job, and is also questioning the idea of what exactly should judiciary deliver and who are the actors. And as the title said, mentioning the golden standard question, it is more than just the question how effectively and efficiently I can apply justice and who should just do it. It is more that the public is looking for something. And this is a little bit, I think, the topic we should dive into when we talk about selection and evaluation of justice and their procedures, not to focus only on these technical things, on who is the best candidate and which kind of objective criteria, but please, especially nowadays, remind ourselves what for the full story is. And I may start about this kind of a little bit artificial thing, reminding us about that rule of law is more or less a religious question. If we talk about rule of law and then look in how it functions mainly because people believe in it. It is not because we have 1,000 judges in every district to ensure that rule of law is applied. Yes, we have police, yes, we have prosecution, yes, we have judges to fix it afterwards, but mainly our societies are running like they are in Europe because people believe in the system, believe in the values, believe in the law and obey to it. The moment where people would disbelieve, the system might flip very quickly. Usually we call this then revolution in history. And I don't want to try out this in Europe. Yeah? So COVID was enough to learn about that rule of law is not applied like it is in the written paper, and that we have deficits here more than we want. But please, if it comes to the core of judiciary and it comes on application of rule of law, let's try to focus on this kind of religious question that people still want to believe that rule of law is applied and want to believe us as the institutions who are doing this, either on university level, teaching and educating, or even in the judicial institutions applying it. Because what is happening, and what is a trigger on our topic, is that mainly the widespread public distrust in judiciary is pushing this topic. It was definitely in Ukraine, it is same in Cyprus, in Albania as well. So it is mainly not driven by the wish of judges or the institutions to renew this procedure. It is simply because someone woke up and said, okay, only 20% of the people are trusting us, what we are doing. Plus, modern times, I can even come up with an Austrian example, as Austria is running a judicial system which is mainly believed to be functioning, working, and providing quite well. If you scroll then through Facebook comments, you will find that people think you become a judge in Austria, yeah, because likely you know someone or your uncle has to be a judge. And this is a country where since more or less definitely the last 50, 60, 70 years we apply a procedure which is quite fixed by law and is, let's call it semi-transparent, but everybody knows the rules. And big scandals in judiciary didn't happen. So in general we have very high trust, but still if you reflect on the opinion you see that people are assuming that something mysterious is going on behind the scenes. And this in a country where public trust is high. And even worse in countries where people even don't trust public institutions, including the judiciary. So we're speaking about fighting the distrust of judiciary to ensure that people are still following the rule of law and understand why and what for. Therefore, of course, it's needed to follow objective, transparent, and quite some technocratic procedures to make it possible to understand. And if you ask me if there's a golden standard existing at the end, and if we are hunting that golden standard, I mean, also I may give an answer immediately, no, there is no golden standard. And I beg your pardon, please don't chase the golden standard, because what does it mean? I mean, always, if people start to talk about judges, especially in the public, outside the institutions, you think they are talking about some religious holy figure, like next to the impeccable vision of Lady Mary, there is sitting the judge, because without mistakes, without any kind of bad habits, with any kind of lacks in career, whatever. No, please. Judges are members of society and should be. Yeah, we're looking for people like you and me in the middle of the society. And yes, of course, trained excellently on the legal background and soft skills, etc. But still, even if on very high standards selected, should be someone who understands how society works, who understands how normal life is, who made experiences from life which is coming from the middle of the society. This is how we have to handle. I will never forget when I was a judge trainee in one of the Viennese courts, Friday afternoon, a mother was coming with a little kid, was about 3 years old, and explaining to the judge that this weekend it's the father's duty to take care about the kid. I have a new boyfriend and the father doesn't want to take the kid, so I leave the kid here. Have a nice weekend. And off she was. This is not a situation you can train by applying law or being selected the most highest graduate from university. You need quite a lot of other skills not to freak out and to handle it properly. So golden standard, yes, in the way of higher standards, but let's keep our feet on earth and not lift off in this question to not lose the connection to our society. And if you start to talk about standards, yes, of course, as you already explained, it needs objective criteria to follow. and some kind of criteria which are also able to understand. I mentioned already that the objectives we are following is, of course, independence and efficiency of judiciary, rule of law I mentioned already, and yeah, one word to European standards. European standards and judiciary is always something which is some kind of keyword. You hear it in every political speech. Sounds nice, but as we know, there is no real European standards in judiciary, especially in EU, there is no judiciary as a topic of the Union. But yes, on the other hand, there are the courts defining standards on European level and on national level, and we have some kind of common understanding. Means don't let you push by someone following European standards, but please be active creating some. By exactly what you're doing in your project, you're creating at the end European standards. Lithuania, by finding a solution how to solve the question how to select judges in the year 2021 and following, will be a very good reference of a highly developed democratic system where you can say, okay, there is no European standards on union level, but look at the Lithuanians, what they did, seems to work and was done thoroughly. So yes, we create European standards, but let's not narrow our mind by following some kind of. It's also to remind us that if we think about the standards of judges all over the continent, it's not only to look for someone from the middle of our societies, it is also to talk about that kind of competencies, about what kind of character we're looking for. In Cyprus, for example, they had more or less one rule in the law and informal talks, which was, we're looking for a person of high moral standards. What the hell is this? Yeah? I mean, this is everything and nothing. But it is worth to cross-check a little bit what kind of character we are looking at. Yes, of course, we are looking for someone who has a lot of legal knowledge and was, let's say, quite a very good student. He has to absorb and analyze information quickly. But is this all in the year 2021? I guess not, yeah, definitely not. Must be someone who is aware of the job, must be someone knowing that she or he is doing a very responsible task here for the society, so serving the society. Doing this for that purpose and not for the money, which is quite obvious, as we are not we're good paid, but not becoming rich is also an agenda. Must be someone who is able to listen, first thing. When I was reflecting my career at the bench, I would say that, yes, the judicial knowledge was a very good starting point, but as an acting judge, the most important thing was to listen to the stories people are bringing in, which is also not that what is written in the papers they sent you before. I remember that when I was working in a district court, I usually started to ask the people why they are here. The lawyers sometimes looked a little bit strange, and the parties also raised their eyebrows, what the crazy judge now is asking. And I said, yeah, because the story you sent me in written paper is quite nice logic, legal stuff, but between the lines I'm reading that there's something else, because you're fighting about, I don't know, 10 centimeters left-right fence between your houses. And then it turns out, yes, there's an old story from grandfather's age, and since then we not talk about. In many cases, yeah, so listening and getting an idea of what is the real problem we have to solve is one of those kind of things which is never written in any kind of law. Yes, judges have to work hard all over Europe. Judges have to therefore be stress resistant. They have to cooperate in teams. They have to organize their work, likely alone. They should, of course, be very efficient. And if we talk about modern judges, yes, of course, should be able to apply IT skills. Those times where our colleagues may not want to turn on computers, hopefully over and they are retired. But also be aware of modern developments, either in society or in technology, which is definitely a must to catch up. If we apply then these kind of standards to selection procedures, as I said, it is all about the credibility. So we must do this along objective criteria, but it must be also possible to follow this at least semi-transparent. It is not to put everything on desk and do public hearings completely. Ukraine went on with this in the vetting procedure, which is very streamlining those hearings on internet. Bold maneuver, but also necessary to show that there is a transparent procedure. If it is a stable process and it is a trusted system, I would say it is not necessary to put everyone's privacy in public, but at least to show in a credible way that we are following objectives and we are following assessment criteria, however those are. Yeah? But of course, must be coming up with some kind of assessment procedure which is clear to follow. And yes, it should be composed also, or should also bring in the judges. It is a very difficult point that to ensure independence of justice and judiciary, yes, we should of course participate and in ideal world select our colleagues by ourselves. On the other hand, this is opening up that kind of problem of distrust. So this tastes a little bit like nepotism, honestly. And yes, the smaller the judicial community and the smaller the legal community in the country, the more the problem. And also, again, I may cite Cyprus, but also Albania. If the community is that small that everybody knows each other from university, from neighborhood, from, let's say, legal families who are in the profession since generations, it is almost not possible to do this without knowing the candidate. So focusing then only on this community renewing itself is, of course, also limiting. But on the other hand, we should keep it sealed from other, especially the influence of execution and administration. But finding a mix of participation of non-judges as experts or maybe even laymen, not wrong. I mean, we work with lay judges as well, so why not considering having someone from an NGO or from a university in is a solution. I think that this is the point which is less defined in Europe. If you are creating a new standard, then think around the box here. The systems in place are really too much conservative in this. Either they are focusing on a closed circle procedure, more or less working with judges plus some experts, or they do the other extreme, putting everything on stage and rolling out the privacy of the candidates on internet. Personally, I would like to find something in between, where you have a trusted, solid team of people who are into selection, but also displayed to civil society as a transparent procedure with some trusted members of selection committees. I more or less talked about that of course it should be transparent and should also be evaluated in the way that people can follow and that the procedure is clearly written. And as I said before, at the end it is all about credibility. So don't lose this. We have a lot of development in European political systems where not only in former Eastern European countries but also in Central Europe, where a judiciary is really heavily criticized by political means, not because we are working less good and worse than we did before, but just because it's a political opportunity. And the more these kind of attacks are happening, because it's a good opportunity for political argumentation, the more we have to prove that we are able to run along our standards and objectives. Therefore, especially on this hygienical part, by selecting our colleagues and evaluating them, we should stick on something which is modern, which is transparent, and which is people still believing in us and increasing the public trust. Saying this, I'm wishing us a fruitful day talking and discussing and listening to other solutions, which I'm looking forward to. Thank you.